Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hali wa salim bikum. Anjurama to my Fulani community and my dear brothers and sisters. I know again, I'm very good at this, short notice, 30 minutes. And I am going to continue my talk on the Sahel region because it's so vital to the peace on the continent. And I spent the week studying reports, gathering film and whatnot to see what is actually transpiring in the Sahel and also what can be done. And it's a grim picture, brothers and sisters. Very, very grim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother Marcus. And I must add, nobody is listening to the cries of the Futafula community. Nobody's listening to it. They're only concentrating on the aftermath, or what our brothers are doing in retaliation and in protection of our communities. I'd be remiss. It's me, Pulo. I'm Fulani. I'd be remiss not to talk about what is happening to my community. No different than when I was inside the United States. It's well documented, the discrimination, racial profiling, and killings of Black folk inside the United States. Because I've said this over and over again. Who's going to protect the Fula community except Fula people? Because nobody's listening to us. Nobody. And a lot of this because of retribution for nearly roughly 1,200 years. Our community has been in charge, have run, have controlled, have had sultanates, emirates through this region. Everyone has come under the banner of the Fula empires, whether it's a sultanate or emirate, but they have been subject to them in some time a part of history, especially in West Africa. So now it's retribution time, and we've seen this big time. And as I want to play a video, but I was afraid maybe copyright, and I was afraid of this, but there was a video that I witnessed that was so shocking. It was in Ghana. And the police was revving up. I'm just showing you now, they're revving up to go kill some of our people there in northern part of Ghana. And he made statements about the Fulani, about they think they think they're better than us, and so forth and so on. And he was revving the people up in order to revving the police officers up in order to get them motivated. And they were motivated. They went there and they began to kill. And no one is listening to us. Nobody. When our children are shot by these police like this and militias, nobody listens. When our sisters, our mothers, our wives are slaughtered and raped and ravished, nobody listens. Even our best of our people, like you see the marquee of our famous Sheikh Islam over here to your right, Sheikh Gumi, he's worked feverishly to bring the case of why the Fulani are fighting across the Sahel. Nobody's listening to him. And to the point where they silenced him by, I'll get into this, by adding things to law to prevent him and other Fulani brothers and Hausa brothers too, who tried to bring these brothers who are now in jihad to the table, and he stopped that. So one article in particular, a good friend of mine who has a lot of contacts into the intelligence field inside the United States, he and I was discussing this matter in length. You don't see these type of articles, you won't find this. But if you notice the caption here, one thing about the United States, we all know, yes, we know how rogue it has become. But one thing about inside the United States, there's a lot of scholarship. And you'll find those who are racist, and they won't give you the reporting what you see, CNN, MSNBC, and ABC, and NBC. I mean, a whole list of these stations won't give you the real scoop on what's going on with in Africa or with the Muslims in particular. But sometimes you find articles written by scholars, American scholars, experts, and they wrote this article, and it's very interesting. Anybody wants to read this in time, you can see this title, put it up in Google. Perhaps you'll probably pull it up. You see the author down at the bottom there. And he lays out why there's this big jihad going on there, as though the West African governments are like, they're putting up their hands like, I don't know why they're doing this. This is the common theme that we see in ECOWAS, all of them. They're all saying same thing. They're after the Fulani this, Fulani that. But they're not saying anything about the ethnic killings the armies and the militias are doing to the Fulani. It says by joining hands with militias, they target Fulani civilians. I've been saying this for weeks. My brother, Sheikh Islam Gumi, has echoed this for a couple of years, and other scholars too have echoed the same thing, saying you are murdering. And now this is an American-based think tank. They got it right. They didn't use perhaps their racism or their prejudices. They wrote exactly what they know it to be. And you see right here the caption: ethnic killings by West African armies are undermining regional security. But if you listen to the heads of all of the Sahel states, as though they don't understand why the jihad is going on, why the Fulani are coming from the east, why the Fulani are coming from the north, why they're coming out from the coastal West Africa to come into the Sahel to fight. And they play ignorant. Here explains it. The ethnic killings of Fulani people. And it says here, and he's got proof, and I have given you proof. I've given you things. I've shown you pictures. Now here it is. These are by Tuba. Okay, this is Tuba who wrote this. And they said, joining hands with the militias. You've been hearing me say this for weeks. Target Fulani civilians. I should draw a map one of these days and maybe get my board here and start it so you can get a better picture, because you hear me talk, but I want to show you, lay it out on the war on terror. You remember what I said about this? Who is the one who's dying? It's not the people who they claim to be terrorists. The ones who die are the civilians, because they target them. They bypassed these people here, okay, the Mujahideen, and they go to the civilian people to kill them, our brothers and sisters and our children. And this is sad. Like in this situation, he's revved up. The people they killed were ordinary Fulani, because there was dispute going on between the cattlemen and the Fulani herdsmen. And because they have been killing them on a regular basis, some Fulani came from other regions into the area to protect their herds. Here, if you look at this whole tape here, it's about 30 minutes, I think it is. This brother laid it out good. Previously, they had just slaughtered a bunch of Fulani in northern Ghana, and they killed over 200 of their cattle. So the word came back that Fulani came in with AK-47s to protect their herds and protect their community. The police, along with the militias, wanted to have at them for it, and they did. This is not right. As I said, nobody's listening. To make matters worse, brothers and sisters, and I'll get into this, but I'm giving you a backdrop. Make matters worse, we have Muslim leaders across the Sahel are making apostasy in their comments. Making apostasy. They said they're Muslims. I listened to some of these leaders, and I listened to the inauguration the other day in Nigeria, and I was brought this particular tape by one brother who told me, he said, Sheikh Yahya, please listen to this and tell me what you think. And I was appalled. And now you understand the big picture, brothers and sisters. You have Muslim hypocrites who are now in power, who have power of life and death, so to speak, who are making apostasy in their comments by saying that the governance of the Tuba, their governance and the governance of Democrat ways and means is better than that of Subhanahu wa ta'ala and that of the Prophet alayhi salam. He didn't say the words of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he said this is the best governance. Any of us who read the Quran know the laws to this. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he is best of judges. Khairan Hakamin, he says in the Quran. He says in a number of places in the Quran. He is the best of judges, meaning his law, not the law of the Tuba. But he echoed that the law of the Tuba, democracy, is the best, he says. I gave classes talking about the Muslims who do this and other things. I put this here, the nullifiers. Again, I taught this class a number of times. I put this in, now I don't have it in Arabic here because they have mostly English speakers. But you notice these are nullifiers, meaning this casts you out of Islam. Number 4, you see what it says. It says the belief that seems that other teachings or judgment is better. He said others. He said others teachings. Okay, Democrat ways of mean is better. It's the best than the prophet. Okay, think about that. And you know, and this, and you see this. This is what we have leaders across the Sahel doing. They're making apostasy. Many may not understand that, may not even know that, but this here is clear. And then number 9, believing that it is permissible in some people to be free of implementing the Sharia. We have leaders who are in power positions who have vacated. They said, no, we don't need this. We'll work with Democrat 10. These are all things of apostasy. So I wanted to bring those aspects out to you, brothers, sisters, as a backdrop. Now, let's get into this. The West, even though they're sowing the seeds of what's going on, they acknowledge their mistakes in the Sahel. Because the Congress is starting to go after the military to ask them, why are you doing these things? Because it's causing upheaval. And in time, American soldiers, we know, have died because of their policies. And to the credit of the U.S. Congress, they're trying to get to the bottom of this and to put a lid on this, which is going to be impossible. Because when they don't know something, a lot of times they do things clandestine. They don't know what's going on. But they're trying to stop what has happened. They're trying to get to the bottom of this. Like you saw 2 weeks ago, I showed you what happened where the general made the comment, yes, we're training Africans to overthrow their governments. And this here, like number 1, overthrowing the governments led to the increase of Mujahideen recruitment. Brothers and sisters, you think about this. You see Fulani and Afro-Arabs and Afro-Tuareg, they see their governments being controlled by the West. and they see their governance is crooked. They see wholesale corruption. They see the top people getting filthy rich, having bank accounts in Switzerland and the Bahamas and the United States, have villas all over the place. While the rank and file persons in the Sahel region are dirt poor, some living as though they're in the 17th century and don't have running water or toilets. And you got people who are filthy rich, getting rich off of things that, because of democratic ways and means. The security forces, backed by the West, are slaughtering the villages. They know this as well. They're talking about this. This is why that article is so important, brothers and sisters, because it exposes the U.S. who is backing the Western forces. And you ask the question, why? Why are they slaughtering the Fula people? We'll get to that. Why are they designating every one of us as terrorists? I'll get to that. We know that the people inside the Sahel region are suffering, as all through Africa. We know this, and around the world, there's a climate now. Nobody can buy enough food to take care of themselves. The uncertainty, even in the United States, you see the bank closures. My sister inside the United States and my daughter in particular have explained to me about how much money they have to spend just for normal food. And I remember one of my favorite dishes when I was a little boy living in California used to be one of these, cereals or stuff like this. And when she told me the price, I just could not believe. When I remember, it used to be for a couple of cents here and there, right? And now it's very, very difficult for them to put food on the table. You can imagine what's happening here in the Sahel region. Because of the policies that I talked about here, it initiated the reciprocation of the Futafula jihad. Brothers and sisters, everybody, this is why the Fula community has been slaughtered. Because the jihad of the Fula people have been strong. Everybody knows that. Why do you think that the Sahelian governments are sitting on the edge of their chairs? Why they're so quick to kill? Because they know that they're sitting there waiting for horsemen to arrive one of these days with the big Fulani sword, okay, and a short sword here, and maybe a javelin of some sort. Tall, black, rangy warriors coming to take them out. They have this fear. And this is now because their policies have initiated this. Nobody's listening to us, brothers and sisters. The grievance of our Futafula brothers are many. They have went to the government officials and said, look, we can stop the jihad. We can stop the killing and so forth. And we can put at bay some of the groups. If you give us schools for our children, hospitals, safety and safe passage, grazing land and water. And basically they told them, I can't, I want to, they're bad words, what they would say in a situation like this inside the United States. I can't echo those words, but they basically tell you, you go stick it. This is what they basically told the Fulani people, the Fulani leaders. And they're all over YouTube talking about these things, showing pictures, bring proof. And the outstanding Fulani brothers and some government officials are, we're not going to say all the government officials are against us. They're not. They also have exposed the double standard in what has happened. And they're talking about this. In 2021, they had a proposal. This, I believe, was beautiful. To bring the Mujahideen and the bandits to stop what they were doing. They proposed because what brought the Mujahideen and the militants or the bandits to the forefront? Cattle, brothers and sisters, cattle. When you have government officials, government forces and their militias slaughtering the people and then stealing the cattle and selling. This is cattle wrestling. To make matters worse, here about a month ago, okay, one province inside Nigeria. They went through and raided it. They took an estimated 25,000 cattle. Now, how could somebody move all this cattle without anybody coming to ask, who are these people? Now you understand the collusion that's going on. Why nobody listens to us. No one wants to talk about it. When you go on TV there, the Igbo stations, the Yoruba stations in Nigeria in particular, the stations there in Mali or Burkina Faso in Niger, nobody wants to listen to that. You want to show pictures of Fulani being slaughtered and their cattle taken. They don't want to listen to that. They'll come right back and say, yes, but Ahmed and Yahya and his village went and killed some dog on there in Mali. Wait a minute. What had happened? What precipitated this? You went and stole 2,000 of our cattle. How are we going to live? What our livelihood is taken. Then you killed some of my children and Ahmed's children, and you killed his wife. See, these type of things like this, they don't want to hear that. And even on this one Nigerian Igbo station, he said he was not aware that any Fulani had been killed. I found it hard to believe. And Sheikh Gumi was arguing with him politely. And I don't know how he kept his patience, but he did. And they wanted to exchange cattle for guns. And he stopped it. Compensation for the farmers hit by the insurgencies. This is a viable thing. These are viable remedies. So we compensate. Now, the Fulani came and hit the farmers. They should give them compensation. And we have to have a broad blanket of immunity with farmers, militias, and certain military people, and the mujahideen and bandits should be given a immunity, so that way we can stop this. We put a detente of some sort, a meeting, and saying that we have this meeting, and we say, look, we're going to stop. We're going to put a stop to this, and we're going to do this and talk about it. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen, brothers and sisters. Oh, salam alaikum, my dear brother Mohammed Kefahal. Now, however, the Islamic haters, the ethnic nationalists among the Igbo and Yoruba in particular, I'm just naming in particular, prefer, blood than peace. If you listen, I have spent this whole week listening to their pundits talk. They want blood. They want Fulani blood. They don't care how many of their groups have killed people in my community. They don't care about that. They want something done to the Fulani. Again, here we go back. One brother brought this attention, a leader of the Fulbe community brought the attention. Look, these people were just slaughtered. And all their livelihood was taken. Their cattle was taken from them. They burnt out their huts where they were living, because they have, they rotate and they make huts as they go and so forth. They burnt all of that out, killed their families. When some of them went back to the village that did it, some of the Yoruba in this particular who did this and then shot up the place, these guys got up in arms and said, we want these people arrested. They didn't want, but how about those who killed and stole their cattle? No, they didn't arrest them. Brothers and sisters, across the Sahel right now, they're killing Futafula people all over the place. Nobody's been taken to court. There's no arrest warrants for any of them. There's no arrest warrants for rogue militia leaders or the security forces. None. But they're after the Fulani Mujahideen, and some have orders to kill them on sight. Even after these militias have went and raided and killed Fulani people, they go back to their enclave and the government forces protect them. So you can't get to them. And if you do get to them, they say this is terrorism. This is what's going on, brothers and sisters. And I have to give it to you straight. Nobody's listening to us. The destination of all the Fulani people, we're all being collectively punished. Even me, I'm here. I told you what's been going on. Every day I get some comment that is not right. Okay, it's not right. And we have pure hatred. And they'll write me a comment. I had one the other day. It astonished me. He didn't even look. I asked him. I tried to be polite. I asked him, did you look at and review the tape? All he kept telling me was, you know what, you're stupid. I know this is Tupac. He said, you're stupid, you're ignorant, and you don't know what you're talking about. And there he said, there's no Fulani in Sudan. Again, the same thing. There's no Fulani in Sudan. I asked him, did you see my tape with the evidence I gave you? He didn't bother to say that. All he kept saying is, no, there's no Fulani there. So, you know what I mean? And stuff like this. Then later on, he goes to threatening. See, this is the pattern I face almost every day now because I'm presenting these facts. I get threatened. No different than our brothers being threatened there in the Sahel. I'm here in Morocco. I'm being threatened. And I've complained about it. And I told you it happened 2 weeks ago inside the masjid. See, the Sheikh Gumi talked about the Sahelian governments, and they're not neutral in this matter. They're taking sides, and they're backing farmers, and they're backing the militias and the military. Now, we always have to mention, in retaliation, and again, like Sheikh Gumi said, we many of our brothers are not educated Islamically. Okay, you understand? They're not scholars. Many of them are not scholars. They don't. They're not being trained Islamically. They don't know retribution, when you can do it, when we're authorized. They don't have this knowledge. And anyway, as we say, brothers and sisters, how would you feel? What would you think? You see your children just slaughtered. See, these are issues that I've been raising, and it's easy for us who are sitting here to tell our brother to have patience, sabr, okay, and don't go in retaliation. Here he's suffering. His young wife was slaughtered. Maybe she was ravished and then killed. And how about his two or three children? They're killed. And there's a nasty report, brothers and sisters. I tell you, boy, this is difficult. This Fulani man, okay, he was living on the outskirts, and now there's a lot of trouble going on between this one ethnic group and the Fulani, the Fulani clan, okay, herders. The marauders came in. They beheaded all of his children in front of him. Can you believe this? They beheaded all of his children in front of him. And they left the scene. Even though this was reported, not one policeman came out to investigate. Now, when we ask him, don't retaliate. We ask him, don't join the Messina group. We ask him, don't join the other Mujahideen groups. We ask him, don't join the herders, the Fulani herders. We ask him, don't join the Fulani militants or the bandits. When he just witnessed his life, okay, his antecedents wiped out, beheaded in front of him. See? So this is why I said, brothers and sisters, there's a lot of atrocities going on both sides, but nobody talks about our atrocities when we're bid. Nobody listens to us. And they're all over the place. We have all the proof. Fula retaliation. If you retaliate, that's a terror designation. It's over for you. You're deemed a terrorist, and now it's giving you the security forces, the Western forces, to kill you outright. This brother who just suffered the loss of his family, his wife escaped. They didn't get her. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know. He was there with his kids. They took his kids and beheaded his kids in front of him. He'll be designated as a terrorist very, very shortly here. Not the men who just slaughtered his children, took his children's head, but he will be, because he's Fulani, so therefore he's going to be designated as a terrorist. What is the underlying meaning behind our governments with the label of all the Futafula as terrorists? You know what this behind this, brothers and sisters? The U.S. terror programs, aid, and funds. When our governments, this is what we've learned, and this is well documented. The poorest of countries saw what happened in 9/11. The United States wanted blood, Muslim blood. And they began to go around the world to do things. They began to build programs. Our African governments, our rogue leaders saw that, and they saw the way to enrich themselves and their cronies. And this has been going on and on through 9/11. You see the same pattern with our leaders. Once the leaders claim that they got a terrorist problem in their state, U.S. funding is kicked in. And most of the time, it's funny. All these security forces that we know, they're paid little, but they get all this money from the West, in particular the United States, from the terror programs. And yet the common soldier who is doing the killing gets pennies. This is what I'm saying. So when they designate you, me, and anyone of the Fulani community as terrorists in our communities as a beacon of terror, the money is dropped into pockets of our leaders. And they get enriched. When you pull up the documents to see how much money was given by the U.S. in particular to West African Sahelian states, it's staggering. Where's all that money going? The soldiers are not getting it. Some of them are poorly trained. Some of them have poor weapons. And you look at them, many. So where's that money going? This is why we're easy targets, because they know that the Fulani will fight back. So they deliberately go to kill out a village, and they can designate everybody terrorism, and money flows in. See, because we are the biggest ethnic group of nomad in the world. So they know that. So they're playing this game, brothers and sisters, to do this to us. And then these guys get the money for it. And it's well documented. The money that's given to the African states, North Africa, Central Africa, all over the place, who claim that they have a terror problem. And then you see 26, 50, 70 million is given. And yet soldiers, some don't even have uniforms. Many don't even have good, proper shoes. They don't even have the training. They have poor weapons. So where's that money going? They just gave one, I won't even mention the 15 million. 15 million here, not maybe about 6 months ago. I read it. Where did the money go? And I looked at their soldiers in the field. You see? So even the militias and the security forces are also victims, because they're pawns in this as well. They go out to kill for our governments, and they're paid very little. But the big boys up here are garnering a lot of money. Where is that 15 million going? The governments who are active in fighting terrorists and translation, Muslims. Again, Muslims, we know this. Going to the masjid, if those who go to read the Quran, those who go to Islamic schools, all of this type of stuff is a beacon for the governments to designate you, me as terrorists. And when they do that, they begin to fabricate cases on us and say, you know what? There's a group of terrorists. We think they have guns. They meet every Thursday. We have an informant said they're planning to overthrow the government. And then what they do, they stage an attack when the brothers, some are 70 years old, some are 75, some are 60 years old. They're too old even to fight back hand to hand. How are they going to go overthrow the government? And they go in and raid them and arrest them and then put in the caption, we just arrested a terror cell. And money pours in from the West. You see the game that's being played, brothers and sisters. I'm exposing it. It's well documented. It's well documented what the Americans are doing, in particular. France as well. Not as much because France is being kicked out. All this money is being 15 million to this one particular country for the terror designation, terror programs alone. 15 million. And if you look at this particular Sahelian state, what they're doing to the Fulani is outrageous. It's outrageous. And this is the place where they just beheaded this man's family. See? So it's well documented. The Americans keep dossiers. This is why they got them by the, by the genitals, you know what I mean? Because they know they're skimming the money and putting it in their own bank accounts and having villas in France and Spain and England and all over the place. They know that. They know the government members are being enriched by this. Some of the governments are starting to fight this, but it's so big and so widespread, it's very difficult for them to fight it all. They're all trying to fight the corruption because the corruption is so deep. And the money is flowing in, and these officials are taking it. Not all, but they're starting to fight back. They do this by sacrificing their population. Again, brothers and sisters, we're all victims. The Fulani herdsmen who are nomads, they're not doing nothing wrong. And they go and they've been slaughtered. The militia who come to slaughter them are going on the orders of those who are taking all this windfall from the Western governments. That man who just killed the Fulani is making small money. Small money. See, this is why I say everybody here is victims. The militias, the military who do this type of work, all the police, all of them are making small money. Where's that 15 million? And they only got a couple of hundred, maybe policemen. They just got 15 million, and plus other benefits, uniforms, weapons, and the whole ball of wax, cars, tanks, everything else to kill Fulani. And nobody's listening. In the mix is the empowering of ethnic groups. In order to make this go, brothers and sisters, we know what's happening, especially in Nigeria. We know that. We know the Igbo, we know the Yoruba, the Tiv, we know all of them are being inflamed. Because you look at their stations and you see them, they're revving. If some of these guys are so angry, if they saw a Fulani in front of them, they would kill them right there. And brothers and sisters, I equate what's happening to my community here in the Sahel, with the African Americans, United States. They're being profiled. And reminds me of the South when the black man driving in the outskirts, the police come and get him and lynch him. This is what they're doing to Fulani, as you heard me talk about. They're driving maybe to go see relatives, and militia will stop them. They know they're Fulani by their look and by their accent. They know that they're Fulani. So they take them out and kill them. Like they did African Americans. They still doing it. Now and then you still hear cases, but we know what's going on in the cities. The police are killing their brothers outright. We're starting to see this now in the Sahelian states with the police and everything. Like that caption I showed you. They just went out and killed the Fulani there in Ghana. It reminds me of the same thing what has happened to African Americans, the same thing. So they pit us against one another. This strategy has backfired because what has happened is they forgot the Fulani, the reciprocity between us. And now the Sahelian states, especially Nigeria, is complaining about all the Fulani coming from the Gambia. They coming from Guinea. They coming from the east. They coming from the west. They coming from the north. They complain about them coming into their country. But because they have went by the word of the Western governments and powers, they went after the Fulani, and now they have problems. And they're retaliating and they're killing. The Igbo come to kill them, they go kill the Igbo. When the Yoruba does something, they go back to go kill the Yoruba. The Yoruba is now, the Fulani are sitting there watching the television when you have prominent Igbo individuals getting on the station talking, harsh about the Fulani. Some of them are young brothers. They don't have the patience, the wisdom yet. They're not my age. They haven't lived a full life. So how many of us had the patience at 20 years old or 25? I didn't have it. I don't know, many of us don't have it. We're easy to get riled up when you're young. And that's why we see more of our young people involved with the bandits or the militants and the herdsmen, because they're easily motivated. They don't have the wisdom, and they don't have the Islamic knowledge also to combat when somebody comes to them and say, look, you need to pick up a gun, and you need to go over here, and we need to go take out some tib. You don't have the Islamic knowledge to fight him off. See? And this is what Sheikh Gumi was talking about. We need to train our brothers. We want schools. They won't give us schools. They won't give us hospitals or anything to help us. They take our livelihood from us. They took our cattle from us. They took our grazing land. So what do you want them to do? Now they're fighting you. What do you want them to do? They have no other choice. How are they going to live and survive? So they go to raid the people. You just empowered the Igbo this over 50 kilometers away. They took your cattle. They go back there with AK-47s to take their cattle back. And some people were killed. See, these reports are being generated, but nobody's listening. Our brother are being profiled, as you heard me say, and which is akin to the black man in America. The same thing. Profiled while Fulani, profiled while walking Fulani, profiled herding Fulani, profiling Fulani people for jailing, for arrest, for harassment and killings. And so we've seen this in the United States. He is murdered on sight in many places today because the retaliation has happened. They don't care what Fulani did it. All they know is Fulanis have done this. So they in turn kill any Fulani who they see. So they murder on sight Fulani people. They say, hey, there's some in the car there. Okay, and they out of anger because their village was hit, they go to kill those 4 Fulani who were in the car who had nothing to do with it. And we see this. We see this happening and happening and happening. The Sahel states, the governments are complaining about the Futafula arriving from other states to carry out jihad. I say this again, brothers and sisters. You just took the nomad. Here you have generations, his father, his father's father, and all the way down the line. They've been herding going across the savannah region. Okay? Because of the war on terror, because the government officials want to get rich, they go and take out this brother. They kill his members of his clan, and they steal and wrestle his cattle. And they burn out his village, the huts where they were living. When he gets on the cell phone and calls, because Fulani have relatives all the way across from Mozambique, going northward up through to southern part of Egypt, going all the way across the southern part of Morocco, all the way down across West Africa, Fulani have relatives. We have relatives everywhere. They get on the phone and say, guess what happened? The Fulani brothers, reciprocity, family from Tanzania, from Uganda, from southern Egypt, from Morocco, from Mauritania, Mali, they begin to come and descend on that area. I'm giving it to you straight, brothers and sisters, and what is happening. And officials like in Nigeria and other places are complaining about all of these foreign Fulani fighters. As though, again, like they don't understand what has happened. As though they woke up and decided to leave Tanzania to come to fight over in Nigeria. What did they do to cause this? The solution is to stop the marauding of the communities, killing their kinfolk and stealing their cattle. I told you what happened here. They stole 25,000 in this one area. How could somebody wrestle 25,000 head of cattle and nobody was arrested? Nobody. And the local authorities did nothing to find the marauders. They came to them. They had evidence. They did nothing, brothers and sisters. They lost all of their cattle. 25,000. That means we know that many of the militias and we know that many of the military and police are behind the wrestling. These brothers are making money. Do you know how much it is when you sell cattle? Huh? That's a big lucrative business. And you sell 100 of those, that's a good amount of money. And especially you start taking their milk and everything else too, and selling the milk as well. Some of these herds are probably on farms sitting among the Tiv and some of the Yoruba and some of the Igbo. They may be sitting there in their farms now, in their farmland. See, and and this is free money that they stole from my community. The Sahelian states made the situation worse by all the conditions I just mentioned. And here's what is puzzling, brothers and sisters. There was meetings, Ghana, Niger, Mali, I mean, you name it. There were meetings between the government officials and the Fulani. And they were making headway. And they were getting some of the brothers to stop. Suddenly, it was stopped. All the talk was stopped. All of the bartering was stopped. Did the collective body of the Sahelian states make a collective decision to exterminate our community? It seems like they did, because our Fulani scholars and our headsmen, our elders and wise men came to the government and pleaded with them to find a solution. I told you one, they said we were willing, because now they have no life, their cattle's gone, stolen. They said, look, why don't you compensate us? You give us cattle, we turn in our weapons. All of that was stopped. So it seems like something's happened. They seem to say the Fulani people should be killed. And this is what has happened. Now, the wholesale killing of Fulani has gotten off the charts, and Fulani are starting to retaliate and kill back. And this is what we got right now. The collective body of the Sahelian states signed a new directive instructing the states to now shore up their borders, to stop the Fulani. Okay, to stop them from coming across, stop them. And however, the Futafula have been free for centuries to travel. Now they're trying to stop that. They claim it's a big problem for security. And there's a big argument that's going on between two powerful officials inside Nigeria alone right now. One who exposed this brother, Fulani brother, a governor, I don't want to mention his name and his state where he's at. He exposed that what has been happening in his towns. They've been killed and assassinated, and their cattle stolen from the area that he accused his brother, fellow governor. He said, your people are doing this, okay? And so they've been going back and forth. And now he said they have been armed. The other governor who's mad with him said they have no right to carry AK-47s. He said, who's going to protect them? Because your people are coming into my state to kill them. You see how vicious and how insane this problem is. It's all across the Sahel. They started to kill us. The Mujahideen, became the protectors of our families. As they began, the Igbo, the Dogon, the Tiv, the Afro-Arabs, you name it, all the way across the board, all these ethnic groups begin to go and get into the mix of killing Fulani, okay? The Mujahideen began to protect the communities. And they were given terror designated for because they went and go and kill themselves, okay? So we know the retaliation. I could get into the Islamic part of it. I did this already, but I cannot at this time because I'm trying to bring a point about what has happened, about what we're able to do in situations like this. We have many scholars talk about issues like this. I can't talk about it this time. Our leaders respectfully ask security and for their protection. They're not giving it. After 2001 to the present, ethnic clashes increased. They made a decision because the money started to come in from the Americans in particular because of terror designation. And they kept saying the Fulani herdsmen, this and that, and so forth and so on. We need this, we need money, we need all this, and the money poured in. So the cross-border movement of Futafula to assist their brothers. The collective body of the Sahelian states have given us, we ask, give us security, rights, fair policing. We ask only for basic human needs and desires. We ask, can you protect us? They said no. Can you give us schools in our areas? No. Can you give us our own police? No, they won't do that. Will you give us water? No, they won't. How about grazing? No. Everything is no, no, no to the Fulani people. So what do you think? What do you think people are going to do? What is the human nature? They say, okay, I'm going to take it. And this is what they're doing, especially in Niger and Burkina Faso and places like this. And some parts in Nigeria too, they're taking it. And the government now is starting to fight back. I don't agree to kidnapping. I have never, I echo what all our scholars are saying across the board. None of us are backing the play of anybody who kidnaps an innocent person. We have no authority. You heard me say this for weeks. I've talked about my objections to what they are doing in retaliation. But we have to even out the score because our community are being hit, and they're being hit hard. And someone has to answer for that. And the government doesn't want to arrest anybody who's doing these things. And the Fulani communities are taking matters in their own hand. They're being supplied with AK-47s to protect themselves. This one governor said they had no right to do that. See, because he wants them open without weapons so that their people from his state can come into this brother's state to kill them, what they've been doing. Because there is money comes available to them for the West by declaring terrorism in their individual states. This is what we see, brothers and sisters. And I'm about ready here to close. And I gave you this thing today because this is important. Now you see the backside of this. You see what has happened, and nobody is listening to the Futafula community. They're being slaughtered through the Sahel, brothers and sisters. Being slaughtered. So much so that this article was generated, and it's exposing what the Sahelian governments are doing. Because these killings are so ruthless, brothers and sisters. You heard me say here what happened recently. The brother, he is sitting there. Can you imagine this, sitting in Los Angeles? You have people come in your house and behead your children in front of you? Ethnic killings by West African armies are undermining regional security. And again, all the collective bodies, they put their hands up and say, I don't understand why the Fulani are fighting us and why they got AK-47s. The Americans in this instant is exposing them by saying, we know what you're doing in West Africa, that you're killing the Fulani. This is what's causing the security problem in your states. You look at the Igbo stations, you look at the Yoruba stations, you look at the TIV stations, you look at the government stations, you look at the government news. They all put up their hands, Fulani this, Fulani that. We don't understand why they're upset. They just exposed you why they're upset. You're killing our community. And exposing it what they have. If you read this article, they got the research. They have the evidence showing that the West African armies are joining hands with the militias that target Fulani civilians. State forces risk sparking wider conflict, which has already happened now. Because the Fulani are calling their kinfolk. They're coming from Tanzania. They're calling their kinfolk from southern Egypt. They're calling their kinfolk from Sudan. They're calling their kinfolk from the Gambia, from the Guinea. And they're calling them into the region of the Savannah region to come there to fight. This is what this article is talking about, exposing our governments here in West Africa. Our West African governments are being exposed again. We exposed the Americans for aiding them and also using the armies and so forth and their personnel to overthrow the governments. And now articles come out to show that the armies, what they're targeting the Fulani community by killing our civilians. This is an interesting article. You see the name here, James Courtwright. You can pull this up in Google and you can find that, and this will help you, in discerning what I've been talking about here today. So, my brothers and sisters, again, I brought something forward to you for your education. I know, again, I'm going to get comments. I don't care. I'm a grown man. I'm an old man. I answer them. I'm respectful, but I'm going to defend myself. I know that when I step out of the house, I know who I got to face. I'm going to defend myself. Okay? And so, brothers and sisters, you should, as the fuller community, even Africans, period, a wrong is a wrong. I don't care. When your African brother, he wrongs your other brother, you have to go and to bring the other brother back up to the right way. We have to expose the wrongs because the militias are victims. The military are victims because they get small money. All this money is coming in from Russia. It's coming in from France. It's coming in from Britain, especially the United States. Millions, brothers and sisters, millions upon millions, plus IMF loans from China. All this money is coming in. Look at the West African forces and look how poorly equipped they are. They don't even have enough to police, like in northern Nigeria. They don't even have enough to police northern Nigeria in the hot zones. They don't have enough. They don't have enough in Niger and other places. Where all this money going to? Where's all this money going to? We know where it's going, see, and that's been exposed. That's been exposed. And we have this beautiful brother who is a very, very good human being. He's weathering the storm. He's been on all the stations in Nigeria, and they were hostile towards him. He weathered the storm. He did not yell back at them. He did not, swear at them. He was very polite. He gave the facts. He explained, he said that the Fulani now are in an ethnic war. He explained it perfectly because he's guided by Subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he's a scholar of Islam. He's getting information. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving him discernment. He's giving him wisdom for him to discuss this matter. And he discussed it intelligently. And with good precision and with proof. He said, this is now not about crime. This is an ethnic war. You're trying to exterminate his population. It's now become ethnic. You see the brothers in the center here. They want to herd their cattle, but now they can't because they have to protect themselves from the militias and the West African armies. You see, I've exposed this more. And so the brothers in the center here now have no other choice. Who's going to protect them? Nobody. You see what has happened. Nobody's put to arrest. Nobody is put on a terror watch list. Nobody is indicted by the ICC and the UN. None of these groups, nobody from the militia or the military or bands of maniac, vigilantes, nobody's arrested. Nobody's put in jail. So the brothers have taken to the sword themselves to protect themselves. Sheikh Gumi over here to the right has explained that in detail. He's got a whole series of tapes there in YouTube and his Facebook as well. And he talks about this, and you can see these stations, and you should know and listen to what the people who hate us, listen to what they have to say. And I'll get ready to close with one thing. I looked at this one southern Nigeria station, Igbo station. Nice, beautiful young sister. She was talking. She had a panel. Not one Fulani was on the panel. Not one Muslim was on the panel either. And she made the comment to echo what I'm talking about. She said, how can we trust these people when, she said, they have a God that orders them to kill all of us? Can you believe that, brothers and sisters? I have the tape. I could not believe that she said that. This is the ignorance that's been spouted out by some of our African brothers. She said, again, that we have a God. We have Subhanahu wa ta'ala who orders us to kill them. See? So this is some of the things, brothers and sisters, that makes it very difficult. Salam alaikum, my dear brother King, and salam alaikum, my dear sister Amina. Brothers and sisters, I'll be closing here with this here. I want you to take a good look at this picture. You see the former president here who, you know, I'm not going to get into his reign as the president of Nigeria because he, you know, you can't please everybody. And when you run a democratic system, this is what you have because people are never going to be satisfied. And he's a Fulani brother. You know, of course, he made mistakes. We all make mistakes. A country as big as Nigeria with the largest population is very difficult to run this country, especially when you have to answer to a parliament body. It's not easy. And when you have enemies who hate you because you're Fulani. See, and then you have the victims like in the center here. These brothers had to go take to the desert, take to the sword to defend themselves from these militias and from the Western forces and so forth. Then you got our scholarly body here who are trying to mediate, and they have been stopped because now it's Nigeria in particular, especially across the Savannah region, the Sahelian region. If you are going to meet with any of these groups to bring to the table, you'll be arrested for aiding terrorism. It's incredible. This man here, this Sheikh Gumi, went to them, got their grievances, and even stopped some of the maraud. He even saved some of the kidnapped victims. See, and he stopped it. And he stopped the other scholars also as well. So this is something, brothers and sisters, that again, I'm passionate about because the wrong is wrong. I'm Muslim. I have to tell you like it is. When we're wrong, we're wrong. We got many criminal elements in the Fulani who went overboard now. When yes, things happen. When our Fulani brothers go to an Igbo village and they chop off the hand or the arm of a sister, this is wrong. There's no authorization for that. See, so it goes both ways. And Sheikh Gumi said that. He said we should weed out this element who's doing this. Because none of us are authorized, and any of us in the scholarly body, we cannot authorize people to take matters in their home like this and go kill innocent individuals. Even if your village has been hit, we're prohibited under Quranic law from this. And our law of our Prophet, ﷺ, we're prohibited. But they're doing it anyway because many of them don't have education. That's why Sheikh Gumi went to them to educate them about the Quran and about the Sharia law, so that way they'll have something they can understand. See, and he tried to, but it didn't work. So, okay, my brothers and sisters, I will leave you with that until the next time, and I'll talk some more. I'm thinking about, I had a question asked me. They said, I went to proofs in the Quran that goes against the Mujahideen group and what they can do and what they cannot do. And this person wanted me to kind of talk about that because he said, I want to know what the Quran says about the marauders, the Fulani herdsmen who come to my village. And this is a house of brother, but he's a Muslim. And he asked, he says, I need to know what the Quran says about this issue. And so I may take that undertaking to because we have brothers, they are Muslims who also, and remember something, brothers, we have other Fulani too in towns who've been hit by our Mujahideen groups as well. Because the motto of the herdsmen is that if you're not herding and you're in the city dwelling, you're almost, it's like the verse in the Quran where, like you're with the enemy, then you are the enemy. See, this is what they're saying. Say, okay, you left us. Now you in the city. You dwelling among them. Okay, now you're against us now. And this is their mentality. So when they've hit some of these towns, some of the Fulani have been hit as well. See, who are living in the town. So they're up in arms as well. So, okay, my brothers and sisters, until the next time. And those who showed up today, thank you very much. And those who will see us in the future and stuff, Anjarama, Salaam Alaikum, Rahmatullahi Katu.